Hey friends, welcome back. It's week 7 of the When Mothering is Hard and No One Sees study, which means this is our final week together. I'm so grateful for the time you've given me these last 6 weeks, and I sincerely pray that as you leave this book, you're left with a deep awareness of the sacred work the Lord has called you to. Because as Charles Spurgeon once said, you are as much serving God and looking after your own children and training them up in God's fear and minding the house and making your household a church for God, as you would be if you had been called to lead an army to battle for the Lord of hosts. As we step away from these pages, I pray you don't forget that. As we close the study this week, we're going to be looking at a story from the life of Elijah. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah's running from the murderous zeal of Queen Jezebel. He's exhausted, he's poured out, and he decides maybe it'd be better if the Lord would just take his life. So he lays down and he goes to sleep. But God has other plans for Elijah. And not only does the Lord not take his life, but he sends the angel of the Lord to give Elijah the very things he needs to sustain life. Rejuvenated by the sustenance, Elijah spends the next 40 days traveling to Mount Horeb, which is, interestingly, the very place some scholars believe God placed Moses before his glory passed by. Elijah arrives and spends the night in a cave, and then the next day, a curious thing happens. The Lord asks Elijah what he's doing in the cave. Then he instructs Elijah to go stand on the mountain because he's about to pass by. Then in 1 Kings 19, 11-13, we read, "A great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave." I have to be honest, this has always been such a curious passage of scripture to me. But as I studied it and wrote about it in this chapter, I realized that the Lord often still appears to us today in much the same way. He comes to us in the midst of our frenetic chaos and our hurried business, in the midst of laundry and dinner prep, in the midst of the dirty dishes and the carpool line. He comes to us and he whispers to our weary, worn-out souls that this hard, holy work is the gospel in action. And when we tune our ear to hear him, it strikes awe upon us too. It awakens our attention and inspires humility and reverence in our heart. For we know that his words are true and his kingdom is among us, right here, right now. As we prepare to close this chapter, I want you to remember this. You and your children have been divinely intentioned since the beginning of time by a Father who loves you. He loves you so much that he sent his own son to the cross on your behalf. Trust him, cling to him, submit to him, rely on him to keep his promises. Posture your heart before him when you're at the kitchen sink and belt out worship to him when you're in the car. Talk about him at the dinner table and when you tuck your children into bed at night. Seek him in both the quiet and the chaos. He is faithful, and he will astound you and overwhelm you in ways you can hardly fathom if you'll simply give yourself and your children to him. It has been an immense joy to walk through this book with you, friends. God bless you.